Hi, my name is Blackham and I've worked for many years in the music industry in various guises in Sheffield. I have worked as a concert promoter, spent many years running the live music at the Students' Union at the university, running gigs in the Octagon, the Foundry, a long-standing nightclub called Fuzz Club was also in my care. And in addition to that, I've run my own record shop, run labels, played in bands, managed bands, toured various countries, selling merch, and so basically dip my finger into many aspects of the music industry. And the one thing that I've always thoroughly enjoyed about it is that sense of community and spirit that DIY brings to you. So this talk today is just a little insight into the concept of DIY in the music industry, and hopefully a little bit of energy to inspire and a little bit of detail as to what you can expect as part of the DIY scene. Obviously, it's quite self-explanatory. DIY is do it yourself. Many people in embarking on careers in the music industry have a kind of a set goal to achieve, often involving signing to a major label, getting records out there, touring, or managing or being a concert promoter or a publisher or a DJ. And many times the path that one takes seems to be complex and fraught and littered with disappointment. But I don't think that's how it has to be. I've never felt that's how it has to be. I've always felt that if one chooses to start that journey and keeps as much of the control in your own hands as you can, then you can have a terrific journey because it's yours, it's your path. Have a think about what you want to achieve, but don't think I've got to wait for somebody to help make that happen, because you don't. Absolutely the best journeys and best adventures in life can be got by just getting on with it and doing it for yourself. Predominantly in this talk, everything I refer to will be about music because that's the world I know, but DIY isn't necessarily purely about music. And any form of creativity is relevant to the DIY concept and ethos. So hopefully this talk will give you a little bit of insight into that and a little bit more knowledge. So what is DIY? Do it yourself. It doesn't mean it's lo-fi, but it can be. It doesn't mean it's local, but it can be. It doesn't mean it's indie. It can be any format. Often, I think the term DIY is linked quite strongly with kind of guitar-based indie music, but it really isn't. DJs, electronica, bedroom composers, club nights, fanzine writers, record labels, concert promoters, venues, or all of these things. There's examples throughout the country of people who have taken the DIY ethic and applied it to their area of music. Why would you choose DIY? Well, as I already explained, for me, I find it far better to start out on your journey and see where it takes you than sitting around waiting for it to start. And with that, I find it's an empowering way of living. It's an empowering way of dealing with your career. Keep the means of production and the means of communication in your own hands, and nobody's going to stop it until you decide to. Unlike people who sign major label record deals, make a great album, and then wait for 3 years and scratching their head wondering why it's not come out yet. There's too many other people involved in the jigsaw and nothing can happen. If you choose the DIY approach, then it's in your hands. You make the music, you put it out there, You want to do some gigs, you go and do them. Why wait for anybody else to give you permission or validate your choices before you do it? That's the whole essence of DIY to me. I think it's empowering. I think it's creative. I think it gives you momentum. I think it gives you energy where often other choices give you inertia. I think it's resourceful. I think the sense of achievement of what you can actually do without having realized you even had those skills is fantastic and will serve you so well in all aspects of life. And in terms of a career, I think it gives you so much more financial control over your own product and your own creativity. And that sounds tedious and boring because nobody thinks about financial control once they're, you know, writing their opus or, you know, their 3-minute pop hit. But actually, if you want a career or you want to do this as a more than a simple hobby, although a simple hobby is also absolutely fine, then you do have to start paying a little bit of attention to things like financial control and keep as much of your means of production within your own control as possible will give you far, not necessarily better outcomes, but better managed because it's in your hands. So the choices are yours. And I think that's so important in any creative world. I think it's so important that it's an uncompromising way of being. And for music, the greatest music to me is the most uncompromising. So I am hugely an advocate of DIY, and I make no apologies for it. It's brilliant. Having played in bands, having been a concert promoter, I found the DIY community such a rewarding place to operate and to work within. It's got an incredible community in every sphere, whether that's club nights, whether it's punk, whether it's singer-songwriter, folk scenes, whatever, the sense of community around it, people engage with making stuff happen for themselves and making stuff happen for other people, is just a brilliant thing to tap into. And I urge you enormously, if you're starting out on this journey, to consider that and to try and seek out people around the country who are making similar music or have similar ideals and principles as you do, and tap into that. DIY communities love nothing more than sharing ideas and resources with other DIY communities in other areas, and, you know, do gig swaps. We had some fantastic experiences as a band, just traveling, you know, up to Scotland, down to the south coast, playing with bands and having them, you know, come back to our city and playing with us. And I still have friends today, 30 years later, that I met from doing that. It's an incredibly supportive scene and a very encouraging scene because it lives or dies on that sense of community and encouragement and support and idea and resource sharing. So what's not to like, I would say. So just to sum up, because I don't want to waffle on too much, how would you get involved? What resources are there available? Infinite resources available on the internet. If you search any club nights you like, any venues you like. For example, in Sheffield, we've got a fantastic venue called Delicious Clam, who've got a record label and a studio and a venue, and they make the most fantastic noises, and they're marvelous people. And there's infinitely more. That's just one small suggestion. Engage with Sensoria. The people at Sensoria are so well connected into the Sheffield music scene that, you know, if you have any questions about, you know, where to find resources, then their website is brilliant place. And I just would encourage you to get involved rather than wait for something to happen. DIY is where that spark happens. It's where ideas merge. It's where things happen, and it's where they happen with or without the permission of others. Thank you for listening. I hope it's been useful. Bye.